Okay, let's unpack this. There is just so much buzz right now around using AI
Oh,
agents,
yeah, definitely.
especially for things like, coding, writing, all sorts of creative tasks. They show up, they seem incredibly fast, almost effortless,
Hmm.
and you get this feeling like you've just found this amazing, tireless partner who can just crank stuff out.
Absolutely. I mean, the initial appeal is huge, right? They promise this massive leap in productivity,
Right.
handling tasks that might take us hours, and they do it in minutes. It
Yeah.
feels like, wow, finally keeping up with the pace of modern work.
But our source for this deep dive today, it's an article from justin.searles.co, published just last Friday, May 30th, 2025. It kind of throws a curveball.
Okay.
Despite all that initial appeal, it makes this surprising argument that these powerful LLM agents, they might actually be bad pair programmers.
Right, that's the core idea. And our mission today really is to dive into why. Why does the source believe this based
Wow.
on their experience? What do they suggest we do instead to get, real value? And maybe what the folks building these tools could do to make them better for actual collaboration.
Okay, yeah, let's start with that excitement the source talks about first. They mention using something like GitHub Copilot's agent mode
Hmm.
and finding it genuinely invigorating,
Yeah.
watching it write a working method right away.
Yeah, that initial wow factor.
Exactly. And it's a relief when the agent knows some API you don't, just unblocks you instantly. And it feels motivating pairing with something so, like, relentlessly committed.
Right, those are definite upsides. Those moments where the AI feels like a superpower. The source does note that pairing with these top LLMs does bring back memories of pairing with human programmers.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting because the source specifies it evokes memories of the worst pairing experiences they've ever had with humans.
Oof. Yeah. And what's
So,
fascinating here is how vividly they describe those bad memories.
tell us about that.
Well, the source talks about, a human pair who would just sort of grab the keyboard
Uh huh.
and just hammer out code in silence, just way faster than you could possibly read it.
Oh, wow.
And you'd feel totally disengaged, right? Using all your energy just trying to follow along.
Yeah, just tracking what they're doing.
Exactly. Then, inevitably, they hit some roadblock. They look over at you for help.
And you're lost.
You're completely caught off guard. You have absolutely no clue what they've been doing for the last, I don't know, 10 minutes,
Yeah.
hour.
And the absolute worst part of that, the source says you eventually realize they were building the wrong thing the whole time?
Right. And suddenly you're left, under deadline probably, to fix this massive amount of complicated code, that boatload of incidental complexity, as the source puts it.
That sounds incredibly frustrating, just awful.
It really does. And the source says pairing with an AI agent feels uncannily similar to that exact experience.
Okay, so that begs the question, why? What's the connection?
Well, the fundamental problem, as the article says right up front, is that LLM agents code faster than humans think.
Okay, hang on though. Isn't the point of an AI agent its speed? Isn't that the whole appeal we just mentioned? Why is speed suddenly a bad thing here in this collaboration context?
Yeah, that's the key distinction the source is making. Speed is fantastic for automating tasks for you,
Right?
but collaboration, like pair programming or co-writing, it really needs a shared understanding, a shared pace.
Okay.
And when one participant is just moving orders of magnitude faster than the other can process or question or contribute,
Mm-hmm.
it completely breaks down that pairing dynamic. The speed isn't the benefit anymore.
It becomes the barrier.
It becomes the barrier. Exactly.
Ah, so the AI speed is like that bad human partner who just zooms ahead, leaves you totally disoriented, unable to even follow, let alone contribute.
Precisely.
It's like being dragged along instead of working together.
Yeah. It turns what could be a collaboration into just a performance you can barely keep up with, which isn't really pairing at all, is it?
No, not at all. Okay, that makes sense why it feels bad. So, given this problem that this agentic pairing in the editor feels like those really negative human experiences, what does the source suggest we actually do? They lay out a path forward. Seems like two main approaches.
Right. The first suggestion is basically to, well, give up on trying to do real-time editor-based agentic pairing in the way we might first think of it.
Give up on it.
Well, give up on that specific mode. Instead, lean into asynchronous workflows.
Asynchronous workflows. Okay, that sounds a bit less like the flashy demo reel of AI just typing code live in my editor. What does that actually look like, say, for coding?
It means treating the AI agent more like a human colleague who prefers to work alone on certain pieces.
Okay.
You break down the bigger problem into separate, discrete subcomponents. You give one to the agent to build independently.
Right.
And then this is the key part. You review its work afterwards, just like you would review a pull request from a human teammate.
Ah,
The source actually points to tools like GitHub's new coding agent as examples designed for this kind of asynchronous review workflow. The AI proposes changes, you inspect them, you approve them.
gotcha. So instead of sitting there watching it type at lightning speed,
Hmm.
you give it a defined task, like build this widget or refactor this function, let it go off and do that. Then you come back and carefully review the result in a structured way.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. It forces you to engage at your pace during the review, not the AI's coding speed.
Precisely.
Hmm.
It shifts the whole interaction model away from trying to co-code live towards a more standard code review process, which, we already understand. We have tools for that.
Okay, that's one path. What's the second approach? What if you do want to keep the AI kind of in the editor with you?
Right. If you want to continue pairing directly in the editor with an AI, the advice is crucial
Mm.
and maybe a bit counterintuitive. You need to throttle down.
Throttle down, you mean. Deliberately make the AI go slower. But doesn't that defeat the whole selling point?
It kind of seems like it at first, yeah.
Huh.
But the source argues it's absolutely necessary for actual collaboration. They explicitly say, move away from the semi-autonomous full-speed agent mode
Uh-huh.
towards slower, more turn-based modes that a lot of these tools offer. Things like edit or ask modes.
Right.
And the crucial phrase they use is, you'll go slower. And that's the point.
Okay, I'm starting to see it now. If the speed is the problem for collaboration,
Right.
then reducing the speed is the solution to make it collaborative. It's
Yeah.
about prioritizing understanding and joint contribution over just raw output speed.
Exactly that. It's finding a pace that lets the human partner actually keep up, understand what's happening, and contribute meaningfully to the decisions, not just witness the final result after the fact.
Makes sense.
The source also really stresses establishing a rigorously consistent workflow, like maybe ping-pong pairing, rather than only pulling out the AI when you're totally stuck.
Ping pong pairing with an AI, how would that work?
Well, imagine using an edit mode. The LLM might propose some edits, but you have to manually review and accept each one. It ensures you understand and agree with every single change before it gets applied.
Ah, okay. So you're forced to be involved at each step.
Yes, you deliberately slow down the AI's output, you establish a consistent pairing rhythm like that ping pong idea, and you stay actively involved because you have to manually approve things.
That sounds a lot more like how good human-to-human pairing actually works. That back and forth.
It does, doesn't it? And that leads us really nicely into the source's suggestions for the AI toolmakers themselves.
Right.
If current agents are maybe bad pairs because of their speed and how the interaction works, how could they be improved? How could they be made more like good human pairs?
So what kind of features does the source imagine would make this actually work better?
They list several interesting ideas. One is pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
Just allow users to set the agent's output speed.
Ah, like a slider.
Yeah, maybe configure how many lines per minute of code or words per minute of prose it generates.
Hmm.
Just give the human control over the pace.
Let me set the typing speed to match my reading speed or my thinking speed. Okay, simple, but yeah, effective.
Another one is letting the user pause the agent,
Okay,
not just stop it entirely, which often feels like you lose everything.
it just breaks.
Right. But a true pause. So you can ask a clarifying question, maybe discuss an alternative approach, or push back on its direction without completely derailing its process or making it lose its current context and train of thought.
Oh, that's a huge one. You're right. With current interfaces, interrupting often feels like you break the whole flow. You have to start the conversation over. Being able to just hit pause and, like, talk to it,
Yeah.
that feels much more natural for collaboration.
Absolutely. The source also suggests moving beyond just this simple chat metaphor that dominates a lot of current AI interfaces,
How so?
like adding UI elements that are more integrated with the work itself. Imagine pinning the current AI session or conversation directly to a specific GitHub issue you're working on,
Oh, interesting.
or maybe integrating a built-in to-do list that the pairing session is actively tracking against.
So the interface becomes less like you're talking about the work in a separate chat window
Exactly.
and more integrated with the actual work environment itself.
Yes, making the AI feel less like some separate chatbot you're asking for help and more like a participant embedded right there in your workflow.
Okay.
And maybe the most interesting idea from a design perspective, the source suggests designing agents to act with less self-confidence, more self-doubt.
Less confident? Wait, why would we want the AI to be less confident? Wouldn't we want it to just know the answer and go?
Well, think about it. In the source's view, it's that very overconfidence, that assumption it knows best, that leads to that silent breakneck coding pace that leaves the human partner completely behind.
Ah.
An agent designed with more self-doubt, quote unquote, wouldn't just confidently hammer out code. It would maybe stop frequently,
Okay.
converse with you, ask for clarification on why you're building something this way, solicit advice on the best way to implement something, or
Hmm.
even express concern if it thinks things are maybe going in a direction that might not be right.
So it would force interaction.
Enforce interaction and validation.
Yeah, I see. It's about building in these deliberate pauses and conversational prompts to make sure the human stays engaged, understands what's happening, confirms alignment at every step. You're sort of sacrificing machine confidence for human comprehension and real collaboration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes the AI a partner you can actually course correct with, rather than just a black box you hope is doing the right thing at, impossible speeds.
Right.
Oh, and finally, the source suggests introducing advanced voice chat. Yeah. They argue this could better emulate how humans pair up, allowing you to keep your eyes on the code while you're talking through ideas. It engages maybe a different part of the brain than just typing back and forth in a chat box.
That is a fascinating set of ideas, really, for making AI agents better collaborators. It feels like it's moving beyond just speed and capability
Yeah.
to focus on the actual quality of the human AI interaction. It's like a call for AI design that prioritizes the human part of the partnership.
And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, it's a strong argument, isn't it?
Yeah.
While AI speed is valuable for automation, absolutely,
Yeah.
it can actively hinder processes that relied on real-time human collaboration and understanding. Speed isn't the only thing that matters. Shared understanding, the ability to contribute those, are crucial.
So, okay, let's bring this home. What does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive right now?
Well, the main takeaway from our source today is that the raw speed of current AI agents, while it's initially impressive, maybe useful for certain solo tasks, it can actually be detrimental in close collaborative settings, like pair programming or co-writing.
Because it mimics that frustrating experience.
Exactly. Working with a human who just goes too fast for you to follow, it leads to disengagement, potential breakdowns in understanding, just not good collaboration.
And the proposed solutions from the source, if you find yourself feeling this way, are pretty clear. Either shift towards those asynchronous workflows,
Right. Let the agent work independently, then you review its output carefully afterwards.
or if you do pair directly in the editor, deliberately slow the interaction down. Establish those consistent turn-based workflows that keep you actively in control, manually approving changes, setting the pace.
Mm-hmm. And this really raises an important question for you to consider, doesn't it? The source wrote this, remember. On Friday, May 30th, 2025, they acknowledge, hey, no one knows where these tools will be in a week or a month or a year. They evolve so fast.
Yeah.
So how might this perspective, this idea that speed can sometimes be a hindrance rather than a help in collaboration, how might that help you think about meeting this moment, as the source puts it, in your own interactions with AI agents?
Yeah, whether you're coding, writing, designing,
Yeah.
whatever task involves this kind of close partnership.
It's definitely something worth mulling over as these tools continue to change so rapidly around us.